You won't believe what happened in the world of mega pastors, and let me tell you, this is how the drama unfolded. It all started when LeAndria Johnson, a well-known gospel singer, decided to speak up against one of the biggest names in the church world, Creflo Dollar. But here's the shocking part. LeAndria didn't just throw accusations without proof. She came through with solid evidence showing that Creflo was stealing from his own congregation. Yes, stealing with a capital T. The money collected from worshipers wasn't going toward helping people or growing the church. Instead, it was funding Creflo's lavish lifestyle filled with expensive cars, designer clothes, and even private jets. The craziest part? Many of those giving money were struggling financially themselves, barely making ends meet. LeAndria wasn't someone who just randomly decided to attack a pastor. She had once admired Creflo Dollar deeply. She had listened to his sermons about faith and success and believed he had a true calling. Destiny took an unexpected turn when she got closer to him and his circle. She was invited to exclusive meetings and became part of his inner group. At first, everything seemed perfect. Creflo welcomed her warmly and made her feel special. She thought she had finally found a place where her faith and music could grow. But soon, the truth came out. Behind the scenes, the church wasn't what it seemed. People who gave the most money got special treatment, while others were treated like they didn't matter. It was like a business, not a place of worship. What makes this story different? LeAndria started noticing pastors and gospel singers openly discussing how to get the most money out of the congregation. They talked like corporate bosses, sharing tricks to scare people into giving more. Fear, promises of heaven, and pressure tactics were all part of the game. She realized these pastors weren't leading people to God. They were leading them into poverty. The more money they could take, the richer they became. LeAndria tried to ignore it at first, but she couldn't. She tried to speak up and question what was going on, but was warned to stay quiet. It wasn't just advice. It was a threat. If she spoke out, her career could be destroyed. But LeAndria was no weak voice. She decided to fight back. This is where it gets interesting. Unlike many others who chose to stay silent for fear of losing everything, LeAndria wasn't willing to stay quiet. She believed in exposing the corruption no matter the cost. She openly called out Creflo Dollar by name, saying he was a fake pastor who used his power to steal from his followers. She made it clear that she wasn't scared of being blackballed or losing opportunities. Her message was strong and fearless. She would continue speaking her truth no matter what. But the battle wasn't easy. Threats and intimidation followed her every step. At one point, the pressure became so intense that she even had to issue a public apology just to calm things down. But viewers noticed her body language during the apology. It was clear something else was going on behind the scenes. Now, this is not just some random story. The church, according to LeAndria, is one of the only places where people can get robbed without anyone calling the police. The money was disappearing, yet no one knew where it was going. Creflo Dollar lived in a way that most could only dream of, while his followers were left struggling to pay rent and feed their families. One story that broke many hearts was of a single mother who gave everything she had to the church, hoping for a miracle. Instead, she only got poorer and was turned away when she needed help the most. But here is the shocking part. The deeper LeAndria dug, the darker the truth became. What made this story different was how Creflo Dollar's church was set up to make sure people kept giving, no matter their struggles. Every week, worshipers were pressured to donate multiple times. Large white bowls stood out front, practically screaming, "Oh, put your money here." And if that wasn't enough, Creflo held seminars preaching that investing money in the church would bring divine blessings and wealth. It sounded like a dream to many, but in reality, it was a trap. Most of the people giving their money were barely scraping by. Some were paycheck to paycheck, others drowning in debt. Yet they were told that if they gave more, God would bless them with prosperity. LeAndria revealed that some members of the congregation were desperate. hoping their faith and donations would change their lives. But what really hurt was that when these people asked the church for help, they were turned away, told to have more faith, keep praying, and wait for miracles that never came. Meanwhile, Creflo lived a life of luxury with mansions, flashy cars, designer clothes, and even private jets. You won't believe it, but he once asked his 200,000 followers to each donate $300 to buy a Gulfstream G650 jet. When called out for this, he blamed the devil for trying to discredit him. The audacity! LeAndria told a heartbreaking story about a single mother who gave all she could to the church. Despite her sacrifices, her life only got worse, and when she turned to the church for help, she was ignored. But the church kept taking her money every week. This is where it gets interesting. LeAndria was also approached multiple times to join the so-called elite group within the church. She was promised millions in return for encouraging others to donate and spread the prosperity gospel. But no matter the offer, she couldn't bring herself to exploit people's faith for money. She knew this wasn't what God wanted. The craziest part, choosing to speak out came with serious consequences. LeAndria faced threats and intimidation from powerful people inside the church. Gospel artists who questioned the system were blackballed, and she was no exception. The church had loyal members who acted like spies, reporting anyone who dared to question Creflo. Those people would suddenly disappear from the congregation without any explanation. It was clear the church was controlling more than just money. They controlled the voices of those who tried to expose them. LeAndria had to make a choice: take hush money to stay quiet, or risk everything by exposing the truth. She chose courage. But the pressure got so intense that at one point she had to publicly apologize, trying to calm the storm around her. Still, many felt something deeper was happening behind the scenes, and her body language said it all. She wasn't truly sorry for what she revealed, but forced to keep the peace. Let me tell you, the church politics and corruption LeAndria exposed shook many people's faith. She made it clear she wasn't against the church itself, but against the harmful politics and greed hiding behind closed doors. She urged believers to unite and find ways to make the church a better place, free from manipulation and lies. Now, the story took an even more intense turn. Destiny took an unexpected turn for LeAndria when she realized the depth of the deception. What made this story different was how deeply embedded the system of control was within Creflo Dollar's ministry. Not only were donations tracked, but how much each member gave decided how close they could get to the pastor. The more money you gave, the more privileges you received: exclusive meetings, special treatment, and even secret access to the inner circle. It was like a business, not a place of worship. You won't believe it, but members were treated like numbers, not people. LeAndria described how she saw pastors and gospel singers openly discussing the best ways to manipulate the congregation. They shared strategies to use fear and promises of heaven as tools to make people give more money. It was a cold, calculated game. But here is the shocking part. It wasn't just about money. This system broke people's spirits. Those who couldn't give enough were ignored or even shunned. Faith was being used as a weapon, turning the church into a place where poor people were blamed for their struggles, told it was their fault they weren't wealthy or blessed enough. LeAndria tried to stay silent at first, hoping things would get better, but the pressure to conform was too strong. When she finally spoke out, she was warned in no uncertain terms to stop. The threats were clear: keep quiet or lose everything: her career, her reputation, her future. But she refused to back down. The craziest part was how many gospel artists and small pastors had been silenced, just like her, forced to turn a blind eye because they feared losing their livelihoods. Despite the danger, LeAndria kept exposing the truth. She talked openly about her own struggles with addiction and faith, making her message even more powerful and real. This wasn't just some angry attack. It was someone fighting for justice and honesty in a system built on lies. She boldly declared she wouldn't be blackballed or silenced, no matter what the church leaders tried to do. "I ain't weak," she said. "I'ma still be booked. I'ma still make my money." The tension grew when LeAndria revealed how Creflo Dollar's teachings on prosperity gospel were used to trap people. The idea that if you just gave enough money, God would bless you with wealth and success seemed hopeful at first, but it quickly became a tool to exploit people's hopes and fears. Poverty was framed as a failure of faith, making struggling members feel guilty and desperate. This twisted belief justified taking money from people who could least afford it. The church collected millions, but gave little back to those in need. LeAndria's courage inspired many, but it also made her a target. She described being watched, followed, and warned by those loyal to Creflo. The church had spies within the congregation, ready to report anyone who questioned the system. It was a secret world where loyalty was bought with money and silence was bought with fear. This is where it gets interesting. Despite all this, LeAndria chose to stand tall and speak her truth, no matter the cost. Her story wasn't just about money or power. It was about the real people hurt behind the scenes. She told of families broken, dreams crushed, and faith shaken. And even after everything, she urged the church to come together, face the corruption, and heal. This was more than a scandal. It was a wake-up call to everyone watching. But here's the shocking part. The story didn't end with just exposing the corruption. The fallout from LeAndria's bold move was intense and heartbreaking. After she spoke out, things got worse for her. She faced serious backlash, not just from the church leaders, but from fans and fellow gospel singers who were scared or loyal to Creflo Dollar. They tried to silence her with threats, intimidation, and even spreading rumors. The pressure was so heavy that at one point, LeAndria felt forced to apologize publicly just to make the attack stop. But anyone watching closely could see that her apology wasn't genuine. Her body language showed the pain and fear behind the words. Destiny took an unexpected turn. She was caught between her truth and the harsh reality of the church politics. But you won't believe this. LeAndria didn't give up. She kept fighting, asking people to pray for her and stay with her as she faced this battle. Her message was clear. She was calling out not just one corrupt pastor, but a system that preyed on people's faith and hope. The church was supposed to be a place of refuge and love, but she revealed it was a place where money mattered more than people. This is how she changed the game, by refusing to stay silent even when the stakes were high. What makes this story different? It's the courage it takes to stand up to a giant like Creflo Dollar. With a congregation of tens of thousands, a flashy lifestyle, and millions in donations, he seemed untouchable. Yet LeAndria showed that even the most powerful can be held accountable. She encouraged others to open their eyes and question what was happening behind the scenes, to not be afraid to speak out against injustice. The craziest part is how the church itself became divided. Loyal followers defended Creflo, believing every word he preached, while others started to question their faith and the leaders they trusted. It was a huge controversy, shaking the foundation of the church community. And through it all, LeAndria stayed true to herself, reminding everyone that faith should not be about fear or money, but about love and truth. Finally, the story leaves us with the question: do you think LeAndria made the right choice by exposing Creflo Dollar? Was it worth risking everything for the truth? This controversy is far from over, and what happens next could change how we see faith, power, and money forever. So keep your eyes open, because this story is still unfolding. And remember, sometimes the biggest battles are fought not in the spotlight, but in the hearts of those brave enough to speak up.